Hi. I want to share with you some ideas about what you can do with your fabric scraps or just, I don't know, all kinds of materials that you may have. And it also includes a little bit of recycling and all that, of course, for making journal covers, but also other things. But I will show you. First of all, where do I start? I've been asked actually how I make my journal covers, the crazy stitched ones, and that's why I wanted to film this video to show you a little bit about my process. But I don't. I'm sorry, I don't have some specific plan for this video, so I'll just tell you everything that comes to my mind. So, in any case, you're going to need some fabric for the inside, the sandwiched part. So I'm not talking here about, right now I'm not talking about the outer decorative layer, I'm talking about the inner part. So any fabric will basically work. I like to use fabrics that I don't like or that I have a lot. It doesn't have to be pretty. It actually can be absolutely ugly. It doesn't matter. As long as the fabric is, you know, okay, a good fabric in terms of condition. And of course, it can be recycled. You just wash it, just, clean fabric, and that's it. That's it, really. So here I have some really nice, strong fabric. And it's not a recycled one, but I have it a lot, so I'm using that. And this is not the correct size, but doesn't matter. I just want to show you, as I said, my process. So here the height, I guess, is actually quite good for a journal, but it's too long. But never mind. So then you take well, you can take all kinds of things. What you're going to need basically is, of course, something in between two layers of fabric. All right. So now what you can do, because you want the cover to have some strength and some stability, you don't want it to be too flimsy. I mean, it's okay if it's soft. It doesn't always have to be sturdy or whatever, but you don't want it to be too flimsy. Well, okay, there are no rules. You can do whatever you want, but this is what I do. Okay. So then you're going to take something. You can take just a piece of paper, whatever paper, junk stuff. You could sandwich that in between and then stitch with your sewing machine, or you could even glue it down, but I prefer stitching. To stitch in whatever way, just to keep it, just to fix that, not fix, to, what's the word? To, so that it doesn't move. All right. And then you cut whatever excess you may have or not. And when you cut the excess, or excess of, you will have your base, right? So let me do this. I like to tear my fabric, so right. Okay, so here's one panel. So you put something in between. It can be an envelope, it can be batting. You could add just another layer or 2 or 3 of fabric. You could add, you know, those. Let me grab something. Okay, so I don't have a big piece anymore. I've used all of that. But this is the, I hope you can see on camera, that foamy kind of plastic that you get when you buy some like electronics or something. They wrap it in this type of thing. That's really awesome to use because it's so light, but it gives some fullness and also stability to your cover. So this is wonderful. I love using that. Yeah, also you can use fused plastic bags. That is also a wonderful thing to use because we have too many plastic bags today in this world, and we really need to do something about it. So you just, this is very thin, but it can be used, of course. You just fuse them, and if you are interested how to do that, you just search the YouTube. There are many videos about that. And I will try to add the link to my blog because I don't know how many years ago I've had a blog post about how I do my plastic bag fusing. So yeah, that's also great to work with, plastic bags. So as I said, then when you put something inside, you add another layer, stitch wherever, however, and then trim any excess off. Okay. Then yeah, let me show you this one. This one is done with fused plastic bags, and it's, you know, it's soft, but it's not flimsy at all. If you can see, it's holding its shape really well, really well. And here I stitched all kinds of tiny denim scraps to make this cover, and I also stitched like a ribbon or a tie, because I want this always to be, you know, to have the connection with the cover. Like everything needs to be well connected. I'm sorry, my words are failing me today, obviously. And on the inside you can see all the crazy stitching, and I added more scraps. This one is covering the seam. It's not hiding it. You don't have to hide. With this crazy stitching you can always just do some stitching, and that's fine, that's great. But I wanted to add that piece for whatever the reason. I don't think too much about why I do things. I just follow my uh, inspiration and the feeling. I don't know. And then this piece here, because um, it had to kind of break this flatness here. You know, it's just a composition thing. But yeah, that's this cover. And as I said, I just used all kinds of really, really small scraps of denim. And these are actually leftovers from a quilt that I did. I'm not a quilter, I have to say. I'm not. But I I made one, I don't know, a year or two ago, um, because I wanted to have a denim quilt. And these are, you know, the smallest leftovers. So I, of course, kept everything, and then I made this journal cover. And then I added lace, cotton fabric here, more lace, denim, vintage lace here, and this heart, which is layered, and it's not really puffy, but it's layered, so it has a little bit of that, I don't know if you can see that, like, dimension. Oh, I remembered. All right. Then, yeah, not then, but what I wanted to say is that what you can do with this, you just put your fabric scraps wherever you want them and however you want them. You could start like this, you know, going really nice and neat, and then just, you know, kind of piecing everything together. But then you could just go wherever and then fill in the blanks with other fabric scraps. And then when you're, if you have any empty spaces here and there, just add another scrap to that and stitch over that. Here's another example. This one is done on that foamy packaging material. And what I do sometimes, I just take a piece of whatever, you know, that foamy thing or plastic bag or, you know, fabric, whatever, and I take all my scraps and then start collaging them. So these are in browns, and yeah, it looks cool. So, you know, when you make a journal cover out of it, it can look really, really awesome. So here is the same piece, I mean the piece from the same larger one. I think it's going to go like that. There's that. And you can see there are all kinds of scraps here in all shapes and sizes. But they are color coordinated. And then I backed it with, yeah, and on the inside there's that foamy thing here. Then there is this really boring piece of fabric, but it's a good fabric. It's good for sandwiching it in between the layers. And then there's this white one, the same as this one here. And now I have a really nice, soft, but, you know, again, not very flimsy cover for another small journal. And another tip, when you start doing that, it might or may Okay, enough about grammar. It might be a little odd at the beginning. It might look like not too pretty, you know, but you should just keep going. And first of all, you have to practice a little bit. Second of all, you have to add more to it and add layers, and just when you feel like it's enough, then you stop. I mean, there's no recipe for it. There's no like a formula or anything. You just do it and do it until you have something you like. And also, um, I mean, I like this, but if I didn't really like it that much, I would just well, I could add more scraps to it, of course, but again, you can do that to a certain extent, you know, because if you do it too much, then you will have just a insanely thick cover, and you don't want to have that. But you can also go extremely crazy with the stitching, and then that adds a completely different look to the piece. So another idea. All right. So as you can see, this is pretty much done in terms of layering fabrics and stuff. And then what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to trim it just a little bit and then stitch all around, and then add something here and maybe a little bit to the back here and there. I think this part here needs to be like broken down. Is that the right expression? It needs something here. As I said, I work just on the feeling, so I'm not like a professional quilter, or I don't know how would I say that, but I just go with what I feel is right. So what I feel is that this part needs something. Here is very nice area for an accent piece. This area could really nicely have a nice like maybe lacy flower, or maybe a stamped word or something. This is great for a spine, no problem there. And then afterwards, you know, after I sew in the signatures, I can add something to that area. But this wasn't really deliberately done. This was just, you know, that's like a happy mistake. Not mistake, accident, sorry. Then here, for me, this is really pretty. You know, there are small pieces, these larger ones, and then, you know, if I add like a crazy collage here, then afterwards I will decide if there's any need of, you know, adding something else, like here or there. So yeah, that's about that. All right. So here is another, let me put this aside. Okay, here is another example of what you can do with your scraps. These are all obviously fabric strips, and yeah, all kinds of strips. For some reason, I don't know why, I chose the red viscose and this dark blue to, and this one, of course, the beige one, to dominate this piece. But there is also a little bit of this glittery black and white and pink and this hot pink, and because I wanted something again to break it down. I don't like things to be too neat. I really admire other people's work, and I always sigh. And when I see, for example, a journal that is really done in a neat style, and it's absolutely amazing to me. But I cannot do that. I mean, I could, but I don't want to. It doesn't uh, drive me, as I like to say. So anyway, inside of this, I actually have paper. Yeah, just folded paper. I mean the doubled, like two sheets of paper, and then of course this fabric on the inside, and then on the outside I just layered pieces of fabric. And what I did first was I would just put a strip of fabric and then sew just a simple running stitch to secure it, then another piece and another running stitch, and all the way to the end. Then I started again with this part at the beginning and started zigzagging to secure everything. And yeah, I did that all the way, and then I just did some zigzagging all around, and it's not finished, of course, it's not, but it's getting there. And then I have my very nice sturdy cover. This one looks really pretty on its own, but I don't think it's going to be like that when I'm done with it, just because I don't feel it like that. I might even paint over this. You can do that. You can paint. You can add more crazy stitching, as I said earlier. You can add maybe lace over that, or whatever, all kinds of things. Then there is this really interesting stuff, and I'm not sure how my phone is showing that. It looks like it's marbled or something, and that's a really cool technique I've learned. I don't know, I saw that somewhere on the internet like 1,000 years ago. And yeah, the same fabric on the back. It has again paper on the inside, and it actually turned out maybe even too stiff. Well, it's not too stiff, but you see, it doesn't want to stay folded. So but again, I add ties to all my journals, so it's going to stay nicely closed anyway. But what I did here is this. You take your fabric, you take your whatever you want to put inside, and then you put another piece of fabric on top. Then you do some stitching to to hold everything in place so it doesn't move on you when you do the rest of the stuff. And because I'm a weaver, I have a lot of yarn and I have a lot of leftovers. And I like to keep my leftovers, of course, because I keep everything. And here's the bag with some of my leftovers. And what you do then is you take whatever you have. Now this can be yarn. It can also be, again, just fabric scraps like these. Right? Like even the tiniest ones. So if you're like me and you keep everything, then you can really use even the tiniest ones. All right. And then you just take those scraps and arrange them in a nice layer, not too thick, just so that it covers this fabric underneath. But again, if you do something with pretty fabric, maybe you want it to show through, but then again, it's going to be kind of busy anyway, so I don't recommend using any pretty busy fabric or whatever. Take something simple and then add your fibers or fabric scraps and then just arrange them in that way that they cover the fabric, but they're kind of as evenly placed as possible. You don't want to have like a big pile in one place and then nothing in the other. So you just arrange them like that, and then you take a piece of sheer fabric and put it on top. Now here you might want to use some clips or pins and pin it so that it stays in place. But it does stay quite nicely in place because it's held on to that fabric underneath, so you can quite nicely maneuver with it on your sewing machine. And then you just, well, what I like to do is I like to start from the middle section, and I just go, with a running stitch just like across there, then maybe, in whatever direction, but I first want to kind of roughly capture everything, and then when it's, like semi-secured, then I go into details. And then when you're finished, I hope that you can see there's a lot of stitching here. And when you finish with that, you get this really, really cool look. And you have used your scraps. You haven't thrown them into the garbage. And you have something really unique. So it's, fiber art. It's really nice. And now I don't know, this could, well, this is not made for this journal, but whatever, you could add something as an accent piece, and there you have your journal cover. So that's, oh, here I have another piece of fabric that I stitched and it is waiting to go on something. But then, yeah, not really for this, but you get the idea, right? Okay, so what about layering? Okay, now I'm starting to play. Yay! That looks good. All right. What about this? Yeah. Okay. So that's that. And of course, let me see. Do I have time? If my camera stops, then I will have to make the part 2. Sorry, but anyway, what I showed you here with this thing, you can do this for all kinds of things, not just for journal covers. So here I have some coasters that I made out of scraps, and I'm sorry, these are already quite dirty. I have to wash them because we've been using them for a long time. And as you can see, uh, I've done the collage thing for the back also, because I just had all kinds of scraps. You know, here's just a big part of fabric. This one's funny. It only caught this little tiny piece. Because I just do this on a big surface or area, and then I cut wherever, you know, I cut where I have, where it needs to be cut. So they kind of catch the pattern randomly, right? So that's that. Here's the simple one. And those are the coasters. Here are the backs. Mostly plain. This one's not. But anyway, that's that. Here are some other coasters. And these have even a little bit of glitter there. And all the stitching you see with zigzag, that's actually where I pieced the scraps together. And I backed these with some nice stripy fabric. And yeah, I love these. I haven't used them. I just made them, and they're sitting there in a drawer. You see here, it was just a kind of a square piece. And I really, really love this technique. It's just so fun and so, oh my god, what's the word? It just makes you feel so free and relaxed, and you can do whatever you want, and basically you really can't make any mistake. Right? Here is, well, this one's not pieced, but it's made out of my old t-shirt and another t-shirt. But then with just a simple zigzag, I created, like a, what's the word? Hot pad? No? Yeah? For the kitchen. And here's my old wallet or a purse. It's also crazy collage with some crazy stitching. And I'm not good at this. I don't know. There's a thread. Sorry, this one has been really loved and used and quite retired now. I don't really know how to make wallets. This was my first try, so there are many mistakes here, but I did manage to incorporate some zippers and, even in some coordinating colors. And, there's some really, really crazy collaging with even the tiniest of pieces. But I love this guy. I love it. So yeah. And yeah, I just crocheted like a... Sorry, my light is horrible, but the day is so terrible, so gloomy and rainy. It's just like, it's dark, and it's not even 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, I crocheted all around everything. So that's another example. You could make also like cosmetic bags, or I don't know, uh, well, phone cases, whatever. I mean, literally, you can do so much with this type or this type. I used to make cosmetic bags with this type of fabric, right? And that's really fun. So the thing is, not only you get to use your scraps that are probably, at least in my case, everywhere, but you also recycle and reuse and repurpose and just help our lovely earth, which is, in my opinion, extremely important. Then also what you do is you basically exercise your creativity. And that's extremely important, because only by doing stuff and playing and just doing stuff, that's how you exercise. And another very important thing is you just play. You have fun and you feel good. And in today's world, where everything is so stressed and so tense, and I don't know, it's really important to have some time for fun. And yeah, but more about that maybe in another video. So anyway, I hope this video helps at least a little bit. I hope you enjoyed it. In any way, please leave me a comment. Tell me if you want to know something different or more, or, you know, if you like it, give me thumbs up. And I thank you all very much for watching, and I will hopefully make more, you know, not just like this kind of inspirational videos, but hopefully more tutorials and stuff. But anyway, have a wonderful day or night, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.